First order of business, Nicole, financial reports.
Okay. So I'll just go quickly through December reports. Property taxes year to date are a little over 24 million. That's 67% collected at the end of December, which is excellent because the second half of payments aren't due until January, so we're in good shape. The town clerk year to date is 273,000. She's over the budget we have, so anything we collect in the next 6 months is above budget, which is good news as well. For building year to date, 134,000 or 90% collected, and again we should be at 100 by the end of January. So again, good news for our revenue side. As you know, we received the state funding from the CARES grant of 42,557 in December. We applied and received it by the end of December. And we also got some Millstone funding that we had applied for last year. On the expenditure side, under the Selectman's office, the engineering account is over budget. That's because we put some BSC invoice costs in there. It has to do with the Easy Mart, and that might be reallocated once we figure out what we're doing with that project. The next department that's concerning would be the Registrar. There's 4 accounts that are already $15,000 over budget. I expect that to be over budget. It could be in excess of 20,000, depending what else goes on the rest of the year in there. It's going to be over at least 15,000. I'm hoping it's not over 20, but we might want to consider doing an additional appropriation now before having to go to town meeting if the executive order for the governor is expiring in February. I'm not sure that that's going to happen, but if it is, I don't know what's going to happen when we'll do a town meeting. So just so you're aware, that's going to continue to go over.
Is any of that reimbursed by the state because of the additional costs that they put on us?
We did get about 6,000 from the state. It was put in a miscellaneous grant fund, and we paid other wages.
So this is over and above that?
Yeah. This is all just mostly stuff having to do with the...
Wasn't that for the town clerk? That 6,000?
It was for both of them. They shared that.
But that will go on the revenue side, so this is on the spend side?
I don't know what your question
Well, in other words, if we got money from the state, it goes on the revenue side, so if the registrars spend, you can't net that.
Right, I can't net.
Yeah.
And we've got one more, we got a referendum.
Right.
And so the 14, and I think it's typically 5 or 6 grand an election.
Well, if you're talking about the school referendum, the school's doing that now by itself.
They don't need our staff to do it?
I think they're going to, well, we can check with the registrar, but I think now that it's over in the school, we can be relieved of that responsibility.
They don't have to check the people who are voting? Or...
Well, they may have to pay for our people, I'm not sure.
Yeah, at any rate,
Yeah.
We may next meeting have to, if you can just remind us next meeting.
Yeah.
You should put it on as an old business or something?
Yeah.
For next meeting?
Yeah.
Under the WBCA, you'll see there was 2 larger bills that were paid, one for legal for Sisman Shapiro and one for project consultant to Kieran and Fazio LLC. Those are, again, in their operating budget, which was enough to cover both of those. For Public Works, we bought fuel of 8,000, and the reason I put that in there, I just want to talk about, as you know, I don't know, who knows, but the computer that Ed has at Public Works Garage, which is hooked up to the fuel pumps, runs a software program for which we get reports out. It's how I allocate gas out by department. And so all the firemen have their own code, Public Works, EMTs, police. So when they put gas in, they put their code in, they put the, correct me if I'm wrong, they put their mileage in, and so it's a way, and we get a nice report, and it's a nice way to see who's using gas and what's the mileage, and because we had some employee issues a long time ago with a former employee. So it's a good control. Well, Ed's computer crashed. He had an old Windows 7 version.
Can folks on the phone put their phones on mute unless they've got something to contribute? Thank you.
David, I am having a hard time hearing Nicole. Does she have a speaker in front of her?
Yeah, Nicole, if you could just get a little closer, that'd be great.
Is that better?
Is that better, BJ?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
So Ed's computer was supposed to be upgraded when we upgraded Town Hall. Like the other remote sites, the computer hardware was going to be upgraded and Windows to Windows 10. But the software he has on those pumps is the original software. It's never been upgraded. It doesn't run on Windows 10, so we couldn't upgrade it, and now that Windows 7 computer that he has died. And we've had to had our consultants in there because now we can't track gas. Although the pumps are still working, there's no way to track who's getting what and where it's all going. So we've got a price from the vendor for the software, which is coming at about $6,000, and they're going to come and they're going to upgrade and all of that. Again, this has never been upgraded since I've been here, and probably ever.
No. Yeah, that was the original.
Right, that I ever. So we're talking old software that we never even really paid an annual license fee or anything. So
yeah, so computer crashed. We need to update the software. We've got prices on both.
Right, yeah. Right. And CT Comp would have to help because we're going to have to input a lot of data because if they can't get anything from the old computer, we're starting from scratch. Yeah. So we've got a price, we've got an estimate. Tim has signed those estimates because I already have funding in unused IT funds from our first upgrade that we can use for this. So we've already authorized it because just ordering now, we're at least 2 or 3 weeks out with just the software and the hardware. Because again, we're going to have to upgrade the modem, his printer.
But from Board of Finance perspective, we've got the cash already in carryover,
Yep.
so that's good. The work has to be done.
Yep. And
so where you started was we've got fuel charge on there. Was that just a trigger for you to describe the situation?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep.
But just to go back to the fuel purchase, so for October through whenever he gets his new computer, I might have no way to allocate the fuel out. So Ed's fuel line might be over because I can't allocate. All the purchases go in there and then I allocate that out quarterly. I won't be able to do that.
Are people keeping manual records at all, or trying to?
It's totally impossible to keep manual records with the amount of keys that are out and the way they use it, because every member of the fire department has got to have a code. Okay. And every member of the ambulance, all my guys, I have my own personal code. The landfill machine has its own code. So every 3 months I can go in and I push a button. It'll give me the total amount used, who used what, and then I can take and push another button, and it separates how many gallons of diesel and regular gas each department used. So she can then distribute the fuel evenly and charge each department with what they need.
That's if we've got the computer system in place, which we don't.
Right.
And so you're going to go over, and you're going to have to try to estimate now that we've got a data gap of 6 or 8 weeks or whatever it is.
Yeah, I can go back to second quarter
of last year.
Yeah, I might use that because I do bill out the Old Lyme Ambulance Association. They reimburse us an actual check. Yeah. For their gas use. So I'm going to talk to them and ask them if we can just use last year's data. Yeah. Hoping that it'll be pretty similar.
And in the meantime, we're gonna 3 more weeks, and we'll hopefully be back up and able to track this.
Yep.
But the total on this is about $19,000?
Yeah.
For the software as well as the new computer.
Right.
And the installation.
And the installation with the pump,
right.
Interfacing.
Yep.
Making
it right.
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Under Public Works, Vehicle Repairs and Maintenance,
Okay, you'll see there's a large bill there. We had one of our dump trucks have a computer problem. So it had to get sent out and they had to be $5, knows what was wrong. It had some other little things in there, but that's why that bill was so big. It was quite a pain.
Did it get fixed for the 11,000 bucks?
It's all done.
Okay. Just checking.
The good old technology of today.
I'll keep going. For emergency management, COVID year-to-date, we've spent a little over $37,000. For the storm on August 4th, we've spent a little over $39,000. Under police, there's been some vehicle repairs and maintenance. This is just general, a regular, almost annual checkup, I would say. It's tires, it's a, you know, more than just an oil change that you and I get, but within budget. For the senior center, I just wanted to make a note that deep cleaning that we've been having over there is still going on. There hasn't been any resolution to that. It's an extra $800 a month and it's not reimbursable.
And there are no senior activities? It's just staff
There is
there?
Meals on Wheels
Yeah.
still going on. There's 2 staff people, and there's virtual stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if someone goes in there and they tape something. I don't
But it's
think
very
so.
limited.
Right.
Yeah, but if they're doing Meals on Wheels, they probably,
So I know that there's been,
we're footing the bill for it, but.
well, Steve doesn't want it even being done because he's weighed in as well. And I think Phil is waiting for the selectmen to decide.
Well, I don't know.
Different
We told
versions.
them that you should have to send them in triplicate memos and stuff, but, you know, with the limited what they're doing there, it's kind of preposterous, but we'll try to snuff it out. It's ridiculous.
But I think everyone is waiting for direction from the selectmen because no one feels they're able to make that decision.
Or both selectmen.
Oh, well, Steve's already weighed in.
What's he saying?
He says he doesn't think the deep cleaning is necessary and shouldn't be done.
I don't think anybody denies that.
Excuse me, Dave, it's Jude.
Yes.
I delivered for Meals on Wheels for a few months during COVID. All you do is walk in the side door of the kitchen and pick up a cooler, and the cooler happens to be in Carol's car. So all you're doing is walking in, getting your paperwork, washing your hands, getting your mask, and getting your marching orders. There isn't any food preparation or anything taking place there.
Yeah.
But the nurse is also there. The VNA nurse is still.
Yes. Yeah, but
she's the only
that
one.
seems a little steep, but.
Yeah. So, okay.
That's for the.
Yep. The selectmen
Someone
can
needs
figure
to
it out.
direct them. To cross out the next one. This additional request was not an additional request. It had to do with next year's budget.
Okay.
So that's null and void. As far as the nonprofits go, we sent out the second half of their stipends. We just got the beaches done this week. They're a little bit late for their second payment because we were waiting on some of the beaches to give us the information for the calculation. And then for the police, their 2 cars we paid for $74,000. They were a little bit over, and that was taken out of the private duty fund. On the back side of that sheet, we're almost done with those bathrooms. We paid another $40,000 to Weiss Construction on them. And I think there's a little bit of retainage left to be paid on that. Phil also has finalized the installation of the new boiler at the senior center. The third item is for the Soundview Sidewalks, BSC, $28,000. That's part of their contract. And then for the Grassy Hill Road Bridge, another $15,000 for engineering.
What's the total for the engineering for Grassy Hill at this point? Do you know? Is it?
Engineering should be $69,007, plus we spent another $6,400 on pre-engineering stuff through the Public Works budget. So there's some of those.
Yep.
I don't know off the top of my head, so I can't. I don't know off the top of my head, so I don't.
So over 70 grand we've spent.
Yeah, and the contract has another 13 to go, which includes final design, 5,500, and permitting, 7,800, almost 7,900. So at the end of the soft costs here, it'll be about 92,004.
And those two final pieces don't need to proceed, so that's about 14 grand if we choose not to proceed with the project, right?
Well, that's going to be, we talked about at the selectmen's meeting earlier about whether we should go or no go. I guess that we can get into it in the,
Sure.
further on here.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just in some of the other funds, I just wanted to highlight on the police private duty. There's been a lot of activity, as you can imagine, with all the activity down at Soundview. We paid almost $92,000 in private duty wages out to our police. And the next item down, we've collected $36,000 on that $92,000, but there's a lot of bills out for collection, so we do well over the 92 to cover for that. Under the library, we did get another pay request for $63,000, which was paid. For road improvement, we talked about the $175,000 we received for Connecticut water. We put that in there for future paving down in Soundview. And in the social workers fund, we received $3,500 in contributions from mostly everybody here in Old Line. So,
Okay.
very generous.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. Next item is the Ledgelight Health District request.
Oh, I don't have a new, that's not on my agenda. I didn't have an old agenda, I guess.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, it's pretty simple.
Well, if it's not on the agenda,
It's on the one we got mailed.
and it was on the one on the website, because I
Okay,
printed
I
that
must
off.
have an old agenda then. Okay, that's fine. I can still
Yeah.
talk about it.
So the item is item number 4, Ledgelight Health District request 10% share of Old Lyme's $42,577 CARES Act grant.
Yes, the way it works is that we submitted, and I reported last month, money to FEMA, and so there's about 29,000 that would not be covered through FEMA that would be CARES Act, which means that we get, and unrelated to that, we get this money from CARES Act, and that was based on population criteria and so forth. So the health district saw these dollars coming to the town, kind of free money, and they've been up against it with all that they have to do, so they made an appeal to the various towns saying, would you kindly allocate 10% of your money from the CARES reimbursement and pay it to the health district. And most all the towns have agreed to follow suit. So we think that this is a worthwhile because, they are, between the contract tracing and all the things that they're confronted with, they've been stretched pretty thin. So the whole timing of all these grants, we were talking at the selectmen's meeting, the FEMA reimbursements through June 30th, but from June 30th to December 31, that hasn't been decided upon. So that's an unknown, and of course if it's a 75%, we'll have a 25% shortfall on that. The CARES Act takes us right up to the end of the year, so regardless of what happens with FEMA, what we have is all we're going to get from CARES. 2021 is a whole nother question. So I think it's a modest amount. Even if they asked us for almost like an assessment, we'd probably look kindly at it. But so we think it's a good idea to give them that extra financing, and so that's where we are.
You know what, I skipped over item 3, which is the reason we're zoned to Etro this evening. So, We'll come back to the Ledgelight Health District in just a minute.
Because it's gonna be a while, do you wanna do anything?
Yeah, let's take care of that then. If I,
I'll make a motion, if that's what we need, for the old line to send 10% share of our 42,577 to Ledgelight.
do I hear a second?
Garvin.
Any further discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor of approving $4,257.70 additional for Ledgelight Health District, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, unanimous. Okay, thank you for that. Now, back to
I just want to
my,
make a comment on that. So this payment's going to go where we usually put the regular payment to the Ledgelight Health District, which is the health department.
yeah,
There's not a lot of funding there. It's really, now we don't have a health department. The only other funding we have in there is for mosquito control. So I'm hoping that mosquito control will be under budget and we won't be over in total for the health department, but we'll see come June.
yeah,
We might have to put a little bit more funding in
okay,
if that's the case, so just a heads up.
okay. Back to my failed enumeration here. So number 3, budget review.
Mr. Chairman, we do have Rick Prendergast who, if you guys would like to hear about that $10,000 commitment we will likely have to the New London wastewater facility. I don't know how long this other will
I might go longer than
Oh, it's going to be, yeah, it'll be a while. So I'll entertain a motion to move, I guess this is new business
under WPCA.
under WPCA, and have Rich address briefly. It's $10,000, so it's not.
Sure. So this is the first request for this budget area, and it's not new money. It's taking money that we budgeted in a legal category and putting it into some other category. I have no idea what to call it. The description is this. We have an intermunicipal agreement to have New London process our waste as a sewer project, and that agreement has a $10,000 buy-in. But what it's called is a $10,000 to sign the legal agreement. Then once we process the effluent in 2 years or so, that goes a credit towards our 20-year buy-in. So I put under legal, in discussion with Nicole, we want to make sure that no one thinks that we're trying to do something different. And my request is to move it to the category of legal to whatever we want to call it.
Well, it's legal that's currently in carryover. Is that
I was planning on using it in the carryover legal. There's $11,400, I think, in that. Is the 10,000? So
Well, it's related to a contract, so I don't know.
It is, well, it's just carryover.
we wanted to make sure there was no,
Right. That
you
we're
know,
upfront.
yeah,
because it's complicated, I guess.
Because I don't let carryover be used for anything other than what exactly it's been approved for.
Right.
So it's legal. To me, legal would be paying Sisman Shapiro or something like that. This is something that's similar, but I just wanted to get the buy-in of the
I guess it's related to the execution of a contract, to the obligation of the contract.
Intermunicipal agreement with New London.
Yeah. So, does anyone feel strongly about needing to reclassify it from legal? I would ask that question of the group.
Well, this is DJ Dave. I thought that, as I've heard it, legal expense typically means payments to lawyers, and this isn't that. So, I mean, it's not a big deal, but that just doesn't seem accurate.
Well, I think legal, it doesn't say legal bills, invoices for, I mean, legal is related to legal.
True, but as far as Old Lyme is concerned, we've never had anything funky like this, other than the payment we had to do to White Sands Beach, which we used carryover for that too. It was approved to take it out of WPCA carryover legal.
Yeah.
To use funding for that. So I don't think there's a problem, but
Well, maybe to dispense with it, because if BJ's point is people see legal and they think legal bills, then that would argue to reclass it in some manner that's more descriptive.
Is it kind of a prepayment on the use?
You know,
Correct.
It's almost like a deposit?
it's hard to describe, and it was established in 2013, and so the deal in 2018 that was signed, we're redoing that deal. So that's where it came back. I don't understand it, but if we want it to happen, that's a requirement.
So maybe from the Board of Finance perspective, we can simply agree that it should be reclassified, and you guys can decide on how it's described so that it's accurate.
You want to call it New London IMA?
I'll call it whatever you want to call it.
Almost like a deposit? Is that its layman's term?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
we're gonna have to come through with close to $600,000 or more, ultimately, and this is 10 grand toward that. So it's
Well,
like a deposit.
it's to sign it now, and then that is counted towards the buying fee.
So it's a
later.
deposit.
Is a deposit.
I'd say.
I would do this. So, and carry over, we have WPCA, legal,
11 grand.
right? I'm gonna do a line right underneath that, almost like a subset, and it's gonna say WPCA, other, I'm gonna put in there, I'm gonna make in my notes what it's for, and I'm gonna take 10 grand and put it there.
So the motion that the Board of Finance needs is to approve taking 10 grand from legal carryover for WPCA and reclassifying it into a new line item called other/deposit or
Right,
something
right.
like that.
Right, you could say.
So moved.
I'd be happy.
Okay.
New London you could say New London IMA deposit.
New London IMA deposit. That's
Intermunicipal agreement.
fine and descriptive. So there is a motion that's been made. Do I hear a second just as a... Okay. Mrs. Sturgis has seconded. So the motion for discussion is to reclassify the $10,000 of WPCA carryover from legal to a new line item, other/municipal agreement deposit,
New London IMA.
New London IMA.
Who made that motion?
Andy made the
Andy
motion.
made the motion. Didn't catch
I haven't done that in a while.
that. I didn't
Yeah.
catch that.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll move to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, very good. Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
All right, the meat of the evening.
All right, so everyone hopefully has their budget book. I think Jude is the only one that doesn't, but hopefully she got my email. If you open up your budget books, the first sheet on the inside. Okay, yeah.
Just
It says Town of Oldline Board of Finance 21-22 budget overview. It's a big 11 by 17 sheet.
Do you have an extra one?
I don't know. I didn't bring one.
Is it not in the general government?
No, it's this sheet right here, but you should have it.
Oh,
Is it
cover?
there? Yeah, that's a revised sheet. This is ours from the Board of Selectmen, so.
Did I look on that?
So I'm just gonna go over, so how this is set up, the FY, the 21.
Hello, is anybody there?
Yeah. Can you hear?
Can you hear us?
Yes, we can hear you now. We didn't hear anything for a little while.
Okay.
We can say that.
Oh,
Back online, okay.
okay, if you have your budget book in front of you, on the inside cover, there's a big sheet on the pocket of the binder. It's folded. It's called the Town of Oldline Board of Finance 21-22 Budget Overview. You can take that out because that's what I'm going to go over.
Yes. She went to copy.
Okay. I did email it, so in case you didn't get your binder, it would be in that email.
Nicole, I have it, thank you.
Okay.
This is Jude.
Okay. So you'll see on this sheet, the green highlighted column is the 21-22 budget, and prior to that, you'll see all the other old budget proposals laid out. The different column to the right of that is the difference between the 21-22 budget and the 2021 budget. So you'll see in total,
This 2017 staff SCC 6.
in total, we've gone up 168,277. Down below are really all the major drivers that drive the budget. And they're spiked out into payroll on the left-hand side. Capital I have just summarized down at the bottom. There's more detail to that. And then operational in the middle, it goes on, it's continued on to the right. So Dave, I don't know if you want me to go down each one or what you want me to do.
Well, I think we can hit the highlights because the largest driver, obviously, capital is capital, and that goes up and down, and that's down very, very significantly. But operating, obviously, is up over 10%.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And salaries are up modestly. With
Okay.
Maybe if you could highlight the basis of the salaries, which is the
Okay.
2 1/4, and then steps basically is what gets us to the 2.5. So
Okay.
we'll start
Sure.
there. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go through the payroll that's on the left-hand side of the page. Per the new police union contract, there was a 2.5% increase. All other employees got 2.25%. Except for clerks, we did bump up the clerk hourly rate from $17 to $18. There's been some, tough times getting clerks. And although it says 5.89% increase, it really was just $1 for the minutes. And the dollars that you see to the right of that is what that amount is driven by those 4 items. The next item down is...
But just to be clear, we are about to start negotiations with the Public Works Union, which contract ends on June 30th. So this is not a contractual increase.
Right, it's not set in stone this year.
Right. Now, this Public Works Union 2.5% is actually the second year of a 4-year contract. The first year ends this June 30th. We've recently settled a contract, so there'll be some retroactive activity on that. But Public Works and, of course, Town Hall has usually followed one or the other of these things. So, but the Public Works is not a certainty at this point.
Well, the Public Works Union has already said that they're going to ask for what we gave the police. So whether you want to keep 2.25% here for the Public Works or increase it to 2.5,
well,
I don't know that that's going to affect your
negotiations. Yeah, we talked about that.
Negotiations. 2 1/4 for now
Right.
until the negotiations are completed.
That's exactly right.
So I'll keep going. On step increases, those only equal to $59.17 for all employees. The next section are, I would say, new requests. The town clerk has asked for additional hours for an admin for election time. She believes that the state will continue with the absentee ballots, the mail-in ballots, and that the town will be responsible for mailing those and collecting them and all of that, and as well as the postage. So she's asked for, we'll go over it when we do salaries, but she's asked for more hours for a part-time person. There was a slight increase for the tax clerk hours just to give her more help in the tax office. The next 2 items have to do with my office. I have asked that myself and my assistant be increased to 35 hours a week. We consistently work those hours, whether it's comp time or time we can't take in vacation, just due to the demands of our office.
Nicole, this is PJ. An increase to 35 from what? What is the base now?
We are all employees except for police and public works are 30 hours a week.
Okay.
And we'll get into the detail
Right.
in 2 weeks. So
Right.
when we go through salaries. So.
Yeah, so we can talk about that.
Yeah, so let's hit the material.
Okay, so I'll just, the big one, if you go a little bit farther down, you'll see a negative 61,000. This is a public work employee that Ed has said he does not feel he needs to replace at this time. He has said that due to the increase of good equipment and
the efficiency from equipment purchases.
Right, he's increased the effectiveness and efficiency of his staff and that he doesn't need to replace that person.
And sleep lower.
Yeah.
That's later, that's capital.
And then the other big driver, if you go down to the bottom, is the police. When our current resident trooper came in, we sat down and talked. I had never really been involved in the police budget. It was always handled by the former first selectwoman and the trooper. When we sat down, we realized that there were a lot of shifts that were not filled at all. And it makes sense because I've always heard complaints from the police officers that no one was on shift. There was constantly shifts that there was no staff. So we went over all the shifts that had to be covered, all the leave that the police officers have, and we have put in all those shifts so that all the vacation and all the leave time can be taken by the officers. And we've split those extra shifts up between part-time officers and overtime for the officers. And as you can see, it's a big increase. It's about $45,000 increase. And then just, if you go 2 down, the negative 10,000, the resident trooper and the officers have said they are not interested in doing DWI stops due to the new requirements and laws from the state that it gives them too much personal liability, and so the trooper has not put anything in his budget for that.
Wasn't there an income line from the state that kind of offset that?
We do get reimbursed 75%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Was it 50% normally?
No, it's 75.
75?
Yep.
Now, under the OT, would the part-time officers play a role in some of that coverage?
Well, the first line item that says 99990,
Okay.
that's their portion. Again, the officers are offered the overtime first,
Then they get the second.
and then the part-timers. So he did an even split, but it's so skewed because the officer's rate is like,
More.
yeah, like,
Lots more.
yeah. And then the regular PT officers are $30 an hour, so.
Okay, so that's down to an increase of 72 grand on a base of 2.872 from last year.
Yep.
So then, in terms of capital, we will also have a chance to go through that in detail in a couple of weeks.
Right.
So high level for the operating differences, obviously the transfers out are driving the vast majority of the increase.
Right.
So, and then there are a few other material items that you might want to preview with folks. Maybe anything over, say, $5 grand if you want to just up or down.
Okay.
And then that'll give people a flavor for what we're going to be discussing going forward and what's going to require discussion. Yep.
So I'll go down that middle column, and the first large item is the 20,000. This is an item that was put in by the Board of Selectmen when I reviewed a budget with them last week. I had 0, and they wanted me to put in 20,000 for a HR consultant, whether that's a consultant or a part-time employee to be determined, but they felt that was necessary. If you go 2 down, the IT consultant goes up by 16,000, and this might change as a result of what the IT committee finally decides to do with their budget. This is if we upgrade all the remote sites, the consultant would have to support those sites. All they really support right now is our network and town hall not town hall, I mean, everybody who's on the network, but they would do other work for other sites that have not been upgraded yet. So, but that number probably will go down based on what the IT committee decides to do. The 40,000 for the medical insurance, that's just an estimate that I put in. I don't have any numbers. That's just, I think, 10% I used, and usually comes in between 6 and 8, so I expect that to go down once we get firmer numbers, like probably March. Going down, I've increased unemployment. I've increased it by 9,000. We've gotten a lot of people that have filed due to COVID, and I don't know that that's going to, that trend will change. We just got another one in today. We probably are paying on 5 or 6 employees currently. So I've increased that. I've just increased the sick buyback. Again, that was just based on a change in the policy by the Board of Selectmen, and it's just an estimate. Going down the line, the next big item is 37,000. This is the White Sands Beach repaving that they asked for several months ago. It's under Park and Rec, but it's where we put all those costs.
That's half
That's
of what they already paid.
Yes.
And it was,
Yeah. Yep.
put a lot more speed bumps in too.
And drainage.
And they're big.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. You gotta go about 5 miles an hour going down that road, you're gonna.
I went down to look at the gazebo, was my mission. And, you know, for the most part, the structure is fine. But the boards on it, they use the wrong screws that rusted out, and boards are popped. Now, whether you just go with new stainless instead of scorpion screws, or if you put down a plastic decking that would probably hold up better. But
The problem with that is with the gazebo sitting in the sand and the tide and everything, the sand gets wet, it rots all the 2x4 framing underneath, which is what happened in the last one, now happened to this one. And I don't care what you put on the top, it's going, but the underneath isn't going to hold unless you put that gazebo on a slab. And we discussed this at the meeting. The gazebo over in Old Sandwich Town Beach was just redone after I think about 50 years. It's on a slab, it's on, I believe, 8x8 or 10x10 posts, and it's got a roof and all the sides are open. I think we've got to really start thinking about doing it once and doing it right. I mean, that gazebo's been there since I was a kid. And like I said, just 3 years ago, they spent $30,000, $32,000 and redid the roof and stuff. But the existing poles are still there. It's on a cement slab, so the water can go in and out of the sand and you can clean it off. Nothing can rot.
Now that's in capital, right?
That is,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
Yep.
okay, sorry to bring that up.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's a
But-
sore spot.
No, but yeah, we'll have a similar but deeper discussion when we get to it in capital and those points are taken. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
Going down the line there, you'll see emergency management COVID reimbursable, 30,000. That is what Dave Roberge has put in for his budget, continued costs. That would include extra cleaning here at Town Hall, and other things that he would say we need. The next item down is something that the Board of Selectmen put in as a result of our discussions. There was neither the trooper nor Dave Roberge put in any time for rangers, and we might still need them down at the beach, so we put in 45,000 for that as well.
That's over and above what's in the Park and Rec budget,
Correct.
so if needed.
Right.
But, yeah.
Right. Yep. Keep going. Old Lyme Fire Department, their total budget is over by, or is increased by 15,870. This includes multiple accounts. I just grouped it all together. Next is the incentive plan for the volunteers. I've increased that by 14,000 based on my calculations on just an increase in people and the cost of that plan. And we'll go over that in detail as well. The trooper, resident trooper, cost has gone down by 10,000. That's a number gotten from Matt Weber, just based on what he knows of his own contract and what we need to pay for him. The estuary, the nutritious services, that's gone down by 11,000. They've given us a discount because they do those Meals on Wheels out of the senior center. I was shocked. I thought that.
It's very generous.
Yeah, we pay 36,000 now, and their budget for next year is like 24,000, something like that. So.
No, the in-person meals are at a higher rate than the to-go meals.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So. And then all of the transfers out, and we'll go through all of this. I have schedules to go along with all of these. Again, these are funds that we've started to
regularly fund to smooth out any peaks and valleys.
Right, and you'll see I have all the specific projects all laid out that show how we need to save in order to get to where we want to get. Over on the right-hand side, the libraries increased their request by 20,000. Our garbage contract, it's for 4 years, and there's a $15,000 increase, so that's nothing we can change now. The next item is Mira. That's where we bring all our trash to be disposed of. Tim is going to look into that because he thinks it's going to be a lot higher than that with the issues they've had at their facilities, so that might be increasing up. On the other hand, recycling is going down, that department, because under the, when Gary used to do it, he would not take he would bring the recyclables to transfer station, and we'd have Willie Waste pull them out. Now the new guys bring them right to, I don't know if it's Deep River.
Well, CRIS.
Yeah. So we don't have to pay those Willie Waste fees. And so we're gonna save on that end.
Now, see, we don't pay for recycling at all at Mira, but hold your breath.
Yeah. When is that going to get resolved timing-wise? Do you know in terms of this year's
It's
cost?
horrible because the likely scenario is that the capacity that can't be handled in state will be trucked to the west somewhere.
But in terms of timing with our budget, resolution of what this is going to cost everybody.
They'll probably come out with something in the way of a projection.
They usually send us an annual letter, like in the next month or two, that has something about what they're going to charge us for tonnage.
Okay.
And we just look at what we've been, you know, what our tonnage has been.
It
and
might
make an
be
estimate.
that we could get one of the officials from Mira to come talk with us, or Carl Fortuna's on their board as well.
Yeah.
But
Let's wait for the letter first.
I'm going to get to talk first.
Transfer station is going up a little bit for contracted services. That's again for Willie Waste to come in and take bulky waste and all that stuff. As people are home for COVID, that seems to really increase, but again, our fees have increased on the other side, so it seems to have offset. And then just the debt is based on the schedule.
Yep.
So that's really it. So
that is the high level. Any questions from anyone here or on the phone of Nicole right now?
And just one comment on capital. It is going down because we don't have, like we've had in the past 2 years, bridge projects, which were...
I think we're meeting. I'll call you back in 20 minutes.
Okay. So although those projects are not, and that drives capital down, we also don't have those grant revenues on the other side offsetting. So even though this is down, revenues will be down because of those two projects. So we'll see when we get there. That was quick.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
All right.
I have a question. As part of the process,
Yeah.
like Rob and I met with the fire department last week, went through their budget. Yeah, it's a 15,000. It's about an 8% increase.
Yeah.
The things make logical sense. Do we need them to come
Right.
in February?
I generally of the opinion that it's self-explanatory or it's been vetted, that we wouldn't need that necessarily.
It's all in their books.
It's in their book, and honestly, the biggest increase is don't know if they're muted. The biggest increase is mandated.
Pound.
That's all set.
Pound mutes them.
I think Nicole muted them on the way to her chair. The phone, people on the phone. Can everyone hear us now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So-
you're back.
Now I can.
So what we were discussing was procedural. Andy had brought up a point and said that he and Grubb had met with the fire department. Did you guys hear that point or no?
No.
So they met with the fire department. They are conversant in what the increase is comprised of, and Andy was wondering if we don't, it doesn't necessarily precipitate a need for the fire department to show up and go through in detail their detailed book if we've already got two folks on the Board of Finance who know what's driving that increase. The same can be said for, unless people do want to show up and walk us through.
I mean,
a lot of people spend a lot of time on these things too.
But it's also under our meeting conditions. I don't know what the restrictions are as to how many people are going to be here. 25, okay.
Yeah, so we've got
they could.
physical room, they could, yeah.
Certainly we'll leave that invitation open then.
So why don't we do this for, here's a suggestion for the group is any of the specialists that have met with their groups, they offer for that group to come before the Board of Finance if they'd like, but if those specialists feel that there isn't a strong need for it, that they make sure that the group understands.
You guys are off again.
What is that?
Yes, they are.
Oh, it's under Jessica.
Oh,
I found the culprit. Mrs. Sturgis sitting to my left.
Oh, but that must have been to prop it up or something.
Yeah, everyone kept turning things off and on. So at any rate, offer them the option, but if we're confident that we can get through it, there's no reason to drag people here and that sort of thing, so. Yeah.
Maybe they won't need to bring 6 or 7 like they normally do, but maybe the chief and one or something.
Yeah.
Andy, have you had any feedback on how the ISO went in total? Did they pass, fail, excel?
It was still ongoing. There was still...
They did the signs.
Yeah. Everything they've done, they haven't, I don't think they've gotten the final report yet, Tim.
Because that determines insurance rates throughout town, so I just wonder where it all came out after all this.
I think they did everything they could. I think one of the final things, Grub, wasn't it? Were there truck inspections?
Could be that.
That had to be done because there was a big number in
hoses.
Hoses were part of it last year. We had to buy hoses.
Yes.
I think it was the truck inspections might have been just completed, and it was a little more than anticipated.
Only because I've seen the bills.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it was more than anticipated. That was part of the final step, I think, for, they felt really good about it, that he's not asking a lot of questions, but it's not finalized yet. And that goes back a year.
Oh, yeah.
Because we approved the money for the signs a year ago.
And the hoses.
And the hoses last January, February, I think.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how long it normally takes. I don't know if they're taking a year is normal. But isn't it good for 8 or 10 years?
Yeah, I think so.
Because they'll never get through the state of all the fire departments, my God. All right.
So if we, collectively, if I can ask the specialists, if they feel comfortable that they can present for their various groups, then they should do so, and offer up an invitation to those groups, but it is not necessary, as long as the specialists feel confident that they understand what's going on.
Is it the preference that we try to relieve them of that time that they would spend here with us? Or are we supposed to encourage them to come to be able to answer questions from other members of the board? Is there a feeling that we don't need to talk to as many specialists as we have?
I think that for some of the groups, it's a single number, but they still show up, and it's a little bit easier. But there are other groups where it's not a done deal, and they may want to show up
To defend their,
right, their request, yeah. So,
okay,
I don't think it would hurt any of the groups to show up.
yeah.
But we have so many that are $3,000 or $5,000 that are not controversial.
Yes.
And the folks feel nervous about even that modest amount. And so I think that if we can give them assurance, well, if a specialist gives them an assurance and says, don't worry about the $5,000, it's a done deal, and then it doesn't happen.
Are you going to hand out bulletproof vests?
Right.
Outdated ones.
Yeah. All right. So
Okay.
anything that we can do, though, I think Andy's point is a good point. Hopefully, we've got a lot of meetings, and if we can keep them as efficient as possible, that would be helpful for us personally on the board. Okay, approval of minutes from December 15th. Does everyone have a copy of the minutes?
Yes.
And everyone on the phone received the packets via mail, correct?
Yes. Yes, I have mine.
Yep, they're all sent out.
Okay, so I'll give it a minute or so for folks to flip through if they haven't done so already, and then ask for approval and then discussion and any comments. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes of December 15th, 2020.
Garvin.
Dave?
Yes.
I have a question on page 6.
It's not seconded yet.
Hey, Jude, if I get a second, just a second, we'll go to discussion here. Do I hear a second for approval?
Oh, okay.
Second.
Andy, second. Okay, discussion, Jude.
The first paragraph on page 6 is Grassy Hill Road Bridge replacement. I think it's just a typo, but where the dollar signs are, it says 692M to 1227M. Those are supposed to be K, meaning 692,000, right?
Yes.
All the way across that line.
Yeah.
It's just a typo, but
Yep.
it's a little frightening.
Michelle, did you get that?
It's a lot of money.
That's a lot more money.
Yeah. That's my only comment, thank you.
Okay, are there any other revisions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move to a vote for approval of the minutes. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those opposed? Nay? All right, thank you very much. Old business. I have none. Any other members of the board have any old business? Nicole or Tim? Anything we're forgetting? Ed? New business. Any new business? I've got none.
We already did new business.
We did the one tiny item on new business, yeah. Okay, on to the selectmen's meeting, report, I'm sorry. Derived from the selectmen's meeting.
Yeah.
A couple hours ago.
All right, the Soundview sidewalks, we're waiting for an easement document from the Easy Mart, and then the DOT can consider the package and hopefully approve it, at which point it can go out to bid. And our objective is to have construction occur in March, let's say, ending by Memorial Day. The bids will be very important because that will determine how much we can do within the $400,000 grant. So that's nearly ready to go out for bid once we get a couple of details taken care of. Haynes Park, there's probably, I would say by the end of the month for sure, maybe sooner, that should be finished. They were installing the fixtures in the facility and doing some painting and trim, and that should about wrap it up. Phil reports that all looks very good so far. There was some discussion about external water supply from the lake to wash the boats and have a little foot bath somewhere. But that's not part of the project, so that'll be later. Grassy Hill Bridge, I want to maybe have some good time so we can look, because we, as you know, the estimate of the construction costs went up radically. So if we proceed, it would likely require, my guess is that we would probably have to come up with a little over $300,000 more to have the funds available to make the 50% match. You know, we've already spent, or will have spent, if they finish up the engineering, about $92,000 on the engineering, and that, if we bail out, that would most likely be not reimbursable by the state at 50%. But you would have to go no farther. Now we have the bridge the way it is, and it's got some deficiencies. You may recall that Todd Macknick did a repair on it, so the structure is sound, but the walls on top of the bridge are basically masonry sitting on the bridge. It's lasted all these years, but it's classified by the state as a little substandard. So, but obviously to build it at twice the cost of the preliminary estimate is a bit daunting. So we'll get some new numbers on that. If the bridge, because of the Corps of Engineer permit, will not be available for this summer, it would be the summer of '22. We would have at least another year, this coming fiscal year, to allocate money for it, and then we might even be able to use fiscal '23 if the construction went past July 1st of '22. So we're trying to work up something to let the selectmen see the dollars here. We could just let it go, or we could suck it up and get the thing done. So that decision needs to be made. The Ferry Road, I haven't gotten this thing, I guess it talks about trees and stuff. So we'll have to look into that, but we need to get that tree situation figured out, because if we wish to start this project this summer, we need to get the tree aspect figured out, and then we can, might even require some meetings with the property owners and some creative thinking as to how to not impact so many trees. So, but everything else seems to be in line in terms of the the steep grant and so forth. Dave Roberge reported that we received, I think, as I reported, we had got preliminary approval for $116,000. I think that's what ultimately was approved finally by FEMA. I think deviation from his submission was something in the range of $1,600, so pretty good on that score. The 25% is about $30,000. That could be covered by the CARES Act money that we're receiving, less the $4,500 we're going to give to Ledge Light. And of course, we don't know what might happen with the second half of the FEMA money, should we be granted that. But this summer, of course, spring, we're going to have to ramp up. If the governor continues his executive order stuff, we will, regardless, we may have to have more coverage at the beach for all the people that show up, the way we did last year, and that was a pretty expensive proposition. It was, what, $35,000 extra on rangers and so forth. So it would be nice to know that we have some money coming in on that if we have to go that route. So we'll see step by step. And it would include the young man we have here as our greeter, which seems to be working out pretty well. The police contract has been signed tomorrow, signed by the town. Tomorrow the union comes in and signs off on it. So that will conclude that. And then we can settle up with the extra compensation that we have to for private duty and so forth. That it would be larger than what's in the old contract. And last, but we will be having a town meeting this coming Monday in this room. It'll be a hybrid meeting which means people can come into the hall here, and we will be hooked up through the phone to kind of a WebEx connection where they can have video. Unfortunately, we can't have video in here. The camera we use is not capable of recording to WebEx. So we're going to have to go audio to WebEx, and the people on the phone will be seen by each other, but not the people in this room. But we have the Citizen of the Year, we have the annual town report, which Mr. Kelsey will accept. We will be voting on a town ordinance having to do with the affordable housing ordinance, and it'll also be, the last thing will be the modification of the voting location ordinance to make this middle school auditorium be the permanent place for election voting. Just elections, not town meetings and so forth.
Auditorium or the
Gymnasium.
Gymnasium? Yeah. Where we go?
The gym?
The gym?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we think that worked out quite well with the primary and with the presidential. So we just need to, when we did that before, it was just through the end of the year, just to see how it went. But I think all reports went quite well. And we had, 80-some-odd% voting participation, so you don't get much higher than that. So if it did well with that, typical election should be fine. So that concludes that. So.
Very good. Any questions of Tim while the board has him? A few more minutes. All right. Thank you very much, Tim. With that, Ed. Yes, sir.
I just have some information about the fair sidewalk.
Ed, do you want to, actually, if you could come up here.
Information on the fair road sidewalks. I was on the phone with Jacobson this afternoon and obtained the units that you have with what trees are coming out.
What might be coming out.
Well, if you look at these trees, the ones that he's saying have to come out, they're in very poor shape. They've been in poor shape since Sandy. Sandy destroyed most of these trees he's talking about, and they were never tended to. Trying to get the property owners to let you move is not going to solve the problem. rule of thumb is, if you wanna find out where the end of the roots are, look at how far the end of the branches are. That's how far the roots go out. There's 3 trees that he's gotten questions, which are up by the 156 line, that have been leaning like that since Sandy, because they started uprooting. If you see the trees he's telling you they should be removed, they're all decayed and have problems. If we want this sidewalk to come out right, they've got to come out and we'll have to replant. And there are areas where you're not going to be able to replant, or you're going to have the same problem in another 10 to 20 years that you've got now with the roots pushing the sidewalks out.
Yeah.
So what would be the route on the other side, say from the church to Academy Lane on the south side of the street?
Well, you've already got one on the north side coming in from 156.
Well, you could have a crosswalk at Lieutenant and get over there.
There again, you're going to run into personal property, and there's some banks on that side where it's not going to warrant a sidewalk, and you're not going to get the sidewalk away from the shoulder of the road far enough, I believe, to be safe. I don't believe that's going to fly with a safety problem, because you're right there with the grass. Coming around that corner, when there's a bank with that property, that means you're going to have to shave that property down.
Which property is speaking?
The one that's right across from, as you coming in, it would be the...
No, you would cross, this, if you went down...
I understand that. Coming in
across
from
the
56, on the right side, there's a property there with a big bank.
Yeah, well,
You'll have to excavate that. How much land do we own there?
No, if you're talking on the north side after Academy, I mean Lieutenant River Lane?
Before Lieutenant River Lane.
There's already a sidewalk on the north side.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you can go that route too, but...
Well, I'm just wondering, from the church to Lieutenant River, would the south side have a lot less trees, and would there be sufficient space to put a 4-foot sidewalk in there?
No, there's no room. You look at the room you've got just on the church side, how cramped it is. You won't.
Well, it's just a couple of properties that don't have the room.
Right.
But there are 2 properties that you don't have the room.
That you don't have the room.
Yeah. If you were to do this, yeah.
Well, obviously, we would have to have the tree warden, the tree commission and stuff, and then probably have a powwow with people that are interested and all that, like we did for Lime Street.
Yeah, but you're not going to, when the tree warden looks at these trees that's explained in the outlay there, the trees are in bad shape.
Well, that would be helpful. But if they're good trees that need to get axed, that would be not helpful.
Then they're uprooted now, they're all leaning out towards the road. That's what he explains in that.
Can I have you run the meeting for the trees?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'd love to, because the trees were not maintained to keep them where they're supposed to be. I'd love to run the tree commission meeting.
Not the tree commission, the town meeting.
I'd run that too.
Oh, I think that might be the first and last one you might want to.
All right.
Well,
I live on the town.
What we'll need to do is get the tree people and the engineer, and I don't know whether this person would come up, but get a good grip on what has to happen, and then roll it out.
We have to get a hold of them all and make a nice little walk.
And the other thing too is, it's a 4-foot sidewalk, what's there already is not a 4-foot sidewalk. I mean, there's a lot of different issues.
It's a tiny sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's real small, the sidewalk that's there now.
No, it's 3 foot, well, it didn't used to be
It's
small.
like it's like Lime Street.
Now you get people who say it's 6 feet is the
No,
right.
Lime's 4.
Oh, here's 4 feet?
Yeah.
See, the deal with the 5-foot sidewalk is they want to be able someone to pass with a baby carriage and walk. That's back
Or
or
pillows
5-foot
can be a lot
sidewalk.
safer.
I understand that. A 4-foot sidewalk is plenty.
Right. 3 foot, sometimes it's plenty too, but I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people that have a lot to say about this, because that is kind of an iconic road in town, and it's got old trees, whether or well cared for or not. It's
But they're decaying, a lot of them have dead. What's going to have to sell it is we're going to have to tell them we will be replanting. I mean,
yeah, you're going to take down 70-foot tree or planted with a,
Yeah.
Home Depot
We
special.
have to make the walk and look at these trees, because I know the ones he's talking about, and they're not helping.
Yeah, but it'll change the very nature of the streetscape. There's going to be a lot of objections.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, so,
But then now the next thing is leave the sidewalks the way they are, and hope nobody trips. I mean, what else are you gonna do?
right, but you know what? I haven't seen a lawsuit
The
yet.
lawsuit waiting to happen.
Yeah, life is too, so
Well.
people are going to have their say.
Oh, absolutely, I want them to.
Yeah. So.
So when's the
you're gonna-
town meeting?
I don't know. Tim said,
Monday.
where's your schedule?
She wouldn't give me one.
All right, that's a preview
Of
good
what's
fun
coming.
to come.
That's a preview of what's to come.
All right, thank you, sir. Motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All right, so that was Mr. Russell, Mrs. Sturgis. All right, thank you everyone on the phone.
Don't